Can Rasheed Dwyer medal at the 2022 World Championships? Welcome back to the channel, people. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, thank you for making it Peter Lloyd World. Now go ahead, please hit the subscribe button so we can continue to grow. We're getting so close to our goal of 10,000 subs because of persons like yourself. Also, if you enjoy our content, remember to hit the like button. The algorithms absolutely love the engagement here on YouTube. And finally, please leave a comment. I often learn so much. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, sometimes it'll make me laugh. So leave a comment. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that Rasheed Dwyer could possibly medal in the 200 meters at the 2022 World Championships? When you're ready? Yep, good to go. Rasheed Dwyer was born on the 29th of January. CMD like me, 29th of January, first same time. Anyway, 1989, which makes him roughly 32 years of age. He's a Jamaican athlete specializing in sprinting events. His two biggest successes to date are winning the gold in the 200 meters at the 2011 Summer Universiade and also winning the gold in the 200 meters at the 2014 Commonwealth Games. He studied at the GC Foster College in Spanish Town, Jamaica. And he also represented Jamaica in the 200 meters at the 2020 Summer Olympics, making the finals and coming 7th. So Dwyer's specialty, as far as I can see, is actually the 200 meters. Earlier this year, Rasheed Dwyer won the men's 200 meters finals at the national trials in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, at the National Stadium, beating the likes of the great Johan Blake, world's second fastest man, and Taekwondo Tracy. Now, I think for many persons, this may have been somewhat of a surprise. Obviously, the favorite going into this race would have been Johan Blake, of course. We know that Johan Blake did not have the best season, and in fact, has not had a great season for the last 2 to 3 years. So Rasheed ended up going to the Olympics to represent Jamaica, and I think he did okay. But in terms of the question that I posed as to whether or not he can medal in next year's 2022 World Championships in Oregon, the challenge becomes, of course, that the field, especially in the 200 meters, I think is kind of full. There's Christopher Chubby Taylor, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people. There's a Sachin Dennis, who if we can get the uniform on him, we don't know. I think he'll be able to do very, very well. There are several, Antonio Watson. There's several athletes just in Jamaica who I think next year are going to rise. I keep saying this. I do believe that we are going to field a strong men's contingent to the World Championships in Oregon in 2022, contrary to what a lot of people believe. And also, of course, internationally, there are the people such like the Noel Lyles, the Fred Curleys. I can keep going. But I do believe that Rasheed has demonstrated that he has immense raw talent, and it's no easy feat to get to the finals of the 200 meters at the Olympics running against the best of the best of the best. So let's look back at his career, all right? Let's look back and examine the factors, how he was able to even get to the finals and do as well as he did. Now, of course, in Jamaica, we are kind of spoiled. So we're used to every time you see a Jamaican running, you're looking at us running, first, the worst is second and third. This is what we are used to. So first up, let's look back at this race. His win at the national trials, which I thought was a solid win. It wasn't the fastest time in history. 2016 in the 200 meters. I mean, not sub 20, but it was okay. And of course, he beat an athlete that no one thought he could have beaten. It was a solid time. It was a solid race. It wasn't the best there is. It wasn't the greatest, but it was impressive enough to get him through to the Olympics. And I mean, let's be honest. If you're at the Olympics, you're representing the Olympics, and if you're able to beat a Johan Blake, even a Johan Blake who is not at his best, it is still very impressive. So I think this, to me, this made me look at him and say, you know something, Rasheed Dwyer, you know, I can see something positive happening for Rasheed Dwyer. Now we know that we saw him better, much better, earlier in his career. I mean, for example, we saw him run against and beat the great Warren Weir. I don't know if any of you remember Warren Weir from the 2011-2012. He beat Warren Weir to win the 2014 Commonwealth Games in, of course, 2014, winning in a time of 20.14. The former Camperdown High School athlete, during this period of its time, seemed to have been at what was then his peak. You know, so he won the Commonwealth game in a very impressive 2014 at the time. This is many years ago. Beating Warren Weir, and we all know well. If you don't know, Warren Weir went on to become one of our great 200-meter specialists and sprinters. I've heard much about him since. He has a PB in the 200 meters, excuse me, which he did here in Toronto, Canada on, I think, July the 23rd, 2015. He ran 19.80 in 2015. Extremely impressive time. Then and now, very impressive time, considering, you know, that the current world's fastest, as is 2021's fastest time, is by Noah Lyles, and I think it's 19.5 or 19.51. So we know that Rasheed, at his peak, can run a sub 20 and can go, you know, really fast. Of course, in the finals of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, he runs in 7th place. I mean, you know, he ran an okay race, if you get what I'm saying. Listen.
First time being at the Olympics and making the final, so I have to give God thanks for that. My strategy wasn't bad. I didn't want to finish on the podium, but this give credit to these guys. They are tremendous athletes, so I have to give credit to them.
Now, the truth is, I'm going to say this: getting to the finals of any Olympic finals, especially in the sprint, 100 or 200 meters, is a very impressive task. Running 7th means technically he's one of the top 8 runners in the world in the 200 meters. Now, let's ask the other questions. We know that he's capable of running sub 20. You know, his best is 19.80, but he did that way back in 2015. We have not seen that form from him since. But again, he was able to get to the finals and run 7th. I also pointed out earlier that it's some of his own compatriots. I think we should never underestimate the oblique Seville. Wow, I mean, there's so many young Jamaican males. There are a lot of young Jamaicans, I think, who are going to impress and do very well. I do believe Oblique is one of them. I do believe if a Christopher Taylor comes down from the 400, starts running the 200 again, there's going to be a lot of problems. Antonio Watson, we know, has a lot of 200 meter potential. There's a lot of young male sprinters out of Jamaica. And then internationally, of course, I've already said there's a Fred Curley, there's a Noah Lyles, what's his name is back, Christian Coleman. You know, so it's going to be a packed field. But the thing about it, I think, is that that packed field is going to be Because it's so competitive, I find athletes tend to run better times when they're pressed and they're pushed to their limit. Do I think Rasheed Dwyer can medal? I think there's a slight chance that he could do so. Looking at the stats, unless he's able to reproduce the kinds of times he was running in 2015, it's going to be very competitive. 2022, the World Championships is going to be very, very competitive, and Rasheed is going to have to get to his best form. He has to be running a sub 20s to be able to medal there. That's just the truth. Do I think he can do it? I think if pressed, he can possibly get back into that shape. He's injury free, and he seems to be doing very, very well. So yeah, I think there's a slight chance. Out of 100, I'd say there's a 20 to 25% chance that he could medal. It's going to be highly competitive. We know that if he gets back to top form, he should be able to run a 19.7, I think, if he gets back to top form. And if he's pressed by other Jamaican athletes, I think we'll see a better Rasheed Dwyer. I am impressed with him. I think 7th place in the Olympics, his first Olympics after all this time, was an impressive feat. I would love to know your thoughts. I really want to know if you think I'm correct on this, or I'm just being really, really nice, or really nice, positive. Remember to subscribe to the channel, please. Ensure that you hit that like button. We need the engagement. And leave a comment. I really want to know your thoughts on whether or not Rasheed Dwyer can hit the medal podium in the 200 meters in next year's 2022 World Championships in Oregon, the United States. You are kings, you are queens, you are greatness personified. Believe in yourselves. I know it's hard sometimes, but see the positive, avoid negative people, and as always, bless up.